Hey, good morning, everybody. Yeah. It's not morning everywhere. That's super chill. Good afternoon if you're living in the future, or hopefully it's not too late in the evening. We are on week 5 of our free web development bootcamp, which means we're in the home stretch. We're almost done, which is pretty exciting. If you're not part of the free web dev bootcamp, if you just sort of stumbled onto the stream, hello. We're delighted to have you as well. Um, it's probably a little bit late to join, but if you wanted to check out what we were doing and see maybe whether or not a free one might be a good joining a future boot camp might be a good fit for you, you're super welcome to. We're working from the free code camp curriculum, and we're all hanging out over at classcentral.com. All very, very chill. We are going to work today on building a city skyline. Oh, this sounds very, very nice. Did all of you have easy weekends, I hope? So we're going to dive right in. And remember that we're coming all the way to the bottom because here it says responsive web design. Ha 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 ha. But we're working from the beta curriculum. That's because they both have the same information, but the beta curriculum is just structured in a way that's, well, I confess that I like a little bit more, which is not always a reason to do something. But not just structured in a way that I like, but structured in a way that gets used to really thinking about the file structure of websites. We're going to come all the way down. Ooh, heck, we've done so many. Ooh, so usually I just get y'all started down diets. Cruel. We're going to come. Took a look at this last week, and we're going to talk about CSS variables by building a city skyline. This is huge. This is such a big lesson, right? We're going to hustle through the first parts. And what's really nice about this is, oh, come on. What's really nice about this is that it's going to be rubbish until I reload it. There you go. Oh, cool. We're going to do this. I got that. That's chill. So we're building some more CSS art. Who here is also in the JavaScript bootcamp? And this is sounding like I'm encouraging you to be in both. I sort of gently discourage it because doing both of these is too much. That is going to whoop you. But for those of you who are in both, we're just going to do our structure now. We've done this a bunch of times. So we feel a little bit confident about this, right? Okay. Ooh, heck. Yeah, we get our green stripe. For those of you who are also in the JavaScript bootcamp, babes, of course y'all are doing too much. I'm going to step way out of my lane and ask what those of you who are trying to do both, that is wisdom. Trying to do both of these at this, like, I adore Ramon. I don't go to most of his classes. Like, this is Leonardo, you're finding this one is harder than JavaScript. Ooh, I think that's because this one has the mean teacher. Like, I think JavaScript, well, CSS can be really challenging. Ramon is such a good teacher. He's a sweetie pie, isn't he? And all we're doing here is we're building out the sort of structure of our website, which we've done a whole bunch of times. If this feels unfamiliar, that's all right. This is going to guide you through it step by step. And we're just going through it. Oh, heck. Here's a little reminder that the bootcamp is always free. If somebody ever says, oh, hey, we need you to pay for this bootcamp, that's not me. Don't listen to her. But the coursework we work from Free Code Camp, those are completely separate folks. These are the good people are a registered nonprofit, and if you've got the cash, it's a nice thing to do to donate. If you don't have the cash, don't you spend money you don't have. Let's do this. So we're doing a title, real fast. See, JavaScript is more difficult for me as well. I'm glad it's not just me. Ramon, I see you in there. You go to sleep. It is too early. Go have a nice breakfast. Ramon does too much. So here we've set up that title, which we're okay with. That's fine. The rel is style sheet sleet. look at this. Type is text CSS. And we're just going to go super quick through this. The ref is going to be set to styles. What are we doing here? Yeah, what does this feel like? That feels right. What? Rel? Oh, STYLE. Actually spelling anything right. It's going to be a very long morning, my beloved friend. In CSS, we can target everything using an asterisk. You remember this wildcard selector we've done before? So here, we've moved over from our HTML file where we're building out this framework. And here we've popped over to our CSS file. We're saying, okay, well, I want to set a rule for everything. I'm going to use this wildcard selector. I want to give everything a border. Border should be 1 pixel. And I want it to be solid because right now we've got a border that's 1 pixel, but it's invisible. Oops. And we're going to say black, even though it's black by default, isn't it? Cool. And this, I think, is really important. So this is the first part I wanted to slow down and think about this. We're not going to keep this border, but we're drawing it so we're better able to visualize. We're better able to understand where our new elements sit. Okay. What other ways could we use? And this is not a rhetorical question. I'm really asking. What other kinds of things could we use to visualize how we're going to map out our CSS? Ooh, so we're going to set another rule for everything. We're going to set a box sizing rule. Set that to border box. And what's going on here is, oh, cool. This will set the border. So it's not going to add any size to our element. Okay. Oh, cool. Let's see our body. It's the innermost box on the page. So this box with the line outside it is this. That's chill. So let's make our body fill up the whole page by setting a height of 100% of the view height. All right. We're going to remove the default margin from the body by setting that to 0. Okay, so that pushed our border all the way out by removing our margin. And Maria's asking, oh, do we always need to target the pseudo elements with a star? So the star will just cover everything on the page. We can do it with, so wildcards are often a way to do this. I think it's going to be really, really common to see them like this. And box sizing, yes, I think box sizing here will be inherited. So if we had set that to the body, anything that would naturally inherit it from the body would pick it up. And then we're going to set the overflow hidden. And that means that we're going to hide our scroll bars. So we don't need those scroll bars. Here, if we stretch the viewport, we get scroll bars here. We don't get any scroll bars here. Oh, cool. It hides the scroll bars when they extend past the viewport. We're going to make a div. And remember that divs, even though I warn against them, it's not that I don't like divs. I have nothing against divs. It's just that when we've got an option for a div, for a div-like box, and there's something with more semantic meaning we can pick, we use that instead. Here, a div is fine. Give our background buildings element. So we had a div with the class background buildings. So we're going to target that class. And when we use a selector for a class, it's that dot. I'm going to say the width is 100%. Oh, cool. So this is going to be just as big as the body. Okay. Height is 100%. I say, well, Jess, why have you used 100% here instead of saying 100 view width and 100 view height? Just because the tutorial said to. Like, conceptually, 100% of the viewport in this specific case is 100% because of the parent element, because the parent element's this body. Hey, everything's fine. Oh, we've got somebody asking when the next boot camp is. So after this one, we'll probably take a week or two off and come back and do some planning. So if you keep an eye on classcentral.com, or if you want to sign up for this one and just get an email when the next ones come out. So we don't have a date quite yet. And that's selfishly because Ramon and I are going to take a little bit of a nap before we start planning again. I say Ramon and I, but we both know that it's me because I'm very old and tired. Oh, div. Oh, BB1. Cool. Here's our div, a class of BB1. That's our background building one, I bet. Oh gosh, it wants me to do the HTML and the CSS. Oh, give that back, give that back. This is very natural. So we've built our background building one. And here we're going to say the class of BB1. That's chill, that's chill. What are we doing here? We're going to say a width is going to be equal to 10%. And 10% here means 10% of the parent element. We can do that. And the height be 70%. And you might notice that not a dang fool thing has happened. If I've made a div with the width of 10% and the height of 70, why can't I see anything? Why can't I see my first building? Well, you tell me why I can't see a thing for the except for the border. I see the border. Why isn't there much going on here with my buildings yet? Wow, I make 4 divs. Yeah, so Florian points out, am I able to move the screen up a bit? Yeah. Let's go ahead and add a little bit more dimension to that. How's that feel? That should give us a little bit more space, yeah? Ajit, no color, no content. Sasha's like, there's no, there like, really all we have is that little tiny border around it. There's not much to reflect on yet. And that's always disappointing, isn't it? Where you're like, I've done the thing. And you're like, well, it's not much change. Let's go ahead and add our classes. This is BB1A. This is weird. If BB1 is our first building, what are these little babbies? BB1C and BB1D. These are weird, right? So we don't really have a lot of rules for these yet. Give the parts of your building width and height. Okay. Oh, so we can see. You know what? When I say we can see, I'm going to zoom in real. Oh, heck. I'm going to zoom in too much. Too much. So we can see just the borders here. They're kind of that big black bar. I'm going to zoom back out. Sorry. So we've got them. They're just all squished to the top, and there's nothing really in them. Let's go ahead and give them some space. So, okay, you all are going to have to, if it's not a bother, y'all are going to have to fuss at me as I do these to make sure I'm doing them right. Width is going to be 70% for this first one, isn't it? And then height is going to be, what is that? Is that 10% again? I'm going to sneeze. Hang on, sorry. Sorry. Oh, gosh, 105. That's not at all what we're doing. I got a little bit obsessed with not sneezing directly into the mic and completely forgot what I was doing. BB1. And I think the challenging. Ooh, do you think I could cheat? But if we're setting width and height for all of these, y'all think I could just copy and paste? Hang on, what? Command C, Command V, Command C. So BB, oh, heck. BB1A, BB1B, BB1C, and BB1B. And we're just going to have to scroll up and down to remember what these numbers are. So BB1A is 80 and 10. Wait, BB1B is 80% and 10%. And remember that remember that you should never, ever, ever program before breakfast. BB1B, 90 and 10 for BB1C, 90% and 10%. Remember that there's a bunch of different. Ajit, I adore you. I adore all of you, but keeping me lazy. We've got BB1D is 100% of the parent plus 70% of the height. Hmm. Oh, heck. I've done these as though they're element selectors, and they need that dot to make them class selectors, don't they? We've got that little green stripe. Everything's fine. Hey, let's get some Flexbox involved. So, and that makes sense. These are boxes. We'd probably want to squish them. Display. Remind me what display flex does. I think I just mostly said it, so that's a bit cheating. Display flex. And here I want flex direction to be in a column. I confess I could never spell column. And I want to align items to the center. Oh, chill. So let's talk through this super, super fast. This is a little tiny bit of a review. But when I say, hey, display flex, what I'm doing is I'm yelling at my CSS or lovingly asking my CSS, do you mind if I use Flexbox for this? So for our BB1 element for this building, Flexbox exists as sort of game physics within it. And here I was like, well, you know what? I want you to put these all in a column. Like the alignment I want to wiggle these from is a column. Cool. And when you're trying to align these, align them up on the center in a column, please, if you don't mind. That's how we talk to our CSS, isn't it? So now variables. So variable declarations have dash dash, and then it's going to be a name and a value. So dash dash, the name of our variable, and we can set those to whatever we want, but really we want them to be sort of human readable where possible. So set those to something that makes sense. I'm going to ask a really hard question. And this really hard question is kind of geared at folks who are taking the JavaScript course as well. What's the value of variables? Why might I want to set a variable in CSS, especially given that we're going to be drawing a picture and probably drawing a picture where we use a lot of the same shapes and a lot of the same colors a lot. Why are we even learning variables? So I'm going to slow down. Our variable is called building color 1. Okay. And the value is 999. Okay, so we're not seeing that yet because we've created a variable and haven't applied it. But can somebody tell me, why do we even care about variables? What's the point of these? So we've made a variable. We've made it up here. Now we're going to reference it. And this is going to feel a little bit JavaScripty, isn't it? In order to use a variable, we say var. Hey, we got a variable keyword. Then we say our variable name in these smooth braces. Yeah? Septa's my lovely. Oh, heck. Sorry. We just both clicking. You know what? If we're going to reuse the same 999 color again and again and again, this means I don't have to type 999, 999. And Carlos and Florian love it. So I say, well, what if I make this whole thing? And then my boss says, well, I like this, but I want your building color 1 to actually, I want it to be blue. Yes, absolutely. It makes it so much easier. Carlos has got this, Florian. So you know what? If I want to change a bunch of things at the same time, these variables make it really quick and easy, but easier is the right way to say it, isn't it? So we're going to apply this 999 color value without ever saying color. So we're going to say our background color is going to be set to the variable building. Oh gosh, what was that variable called? Building color. Oh, heck. I'm doing this. Look at me teaching y'all the wrong thing. Because we still need to say, hey, this is a variable. So we've said var. I'm using a variable here. These smooth braces to contain my variable name. And building. Oh gosh, what is that called? Building color 1. Oh gosh, look, it's turned this gray color that we thought it might do. Oh, that feels all right, doesn't it? Ah, that is great. So here, let's just take a quick look. Let's stretch you right out. Not you as a learner, but you as the screen. Here we've said, I'm making a new variable. Here's my dash dash. And my new variable name is called building color 1. And it's set to the value of 999. Here, oh, heck, come along down. Oh, here I've said, I want to set the background color of BB1A. So this element, this little class I've made, I want to set the background color to be a variable. So I've still got to say, yo, I'm using a variable here. And then we've got to contain our variable name in these smooth braces. And I say dash dash, and I'm really referencing that value, which is pretty exciting. Those of you who are in JavaScript, it feels like y'all get to cheat a little bit because this idea of a variable and then referencing it and using it again and again and changing the value. I guess changing the value can be more complex in JavaScript, can't it? So we're going to use the same variable background color for BB1B, BB1C. Okay, we're going to paint all of these. And you know what? As a deeply lazy person, what I'm going to do is Command C. And I think that as I add this background color variable, as I set this background color, we're going to see this get painted in. Oh, yeah. So we're seeing the same color come in again and again. And we're not writing our hex. We're not writing gray. But what we're doing is we're saying all of these are going to be set to the variable within these smooth braces of dash dash. So this variable of building color 1. Rad. This is cool. We could do this. And let me know if this is conceptually weird, because variables are conceptually weird, right? Those of you who haven't encountered variables before, I like to think of variables as an empty box. Well, they start empty, but they're a box with a label on it. And you get to build the box. And here, let's look at how we build our box. Ooh, hey, let's talk about how to build this box. And then Sasha has a question about scope, and I love this. Where am I? Where am I? Where am I? There you are. There you are. So here, when I say dash dash, what I'm really saying is I'm going to get an empty box. Yeah? And when I say the name, I say this empty box is going to be called building color 1. What I'm really doing is getting an empty box and then writing building color 1 across the front of the box. This box is now called building color 1. Cool. And then what I'm doing is I'm putting something in the box. So this is I'm starting a variable, get a box. I'm naming the variable. Here's what my box is named. And when I set the value of the variable, so here it's this is what I'm putting inside the box. So I've said got a box. This box is called building color 1, and it contains a color. Every time I use building color 1, I want my CSS to come up to this box, check that it's the box with the right name, and then use whatever's in the box. Yeah? So Sasha's got a question about scope and variables, and I think this is really, really prescient. So saying, hey, and I think you're probably in the JavaScript course, huh? Yeah. How does BBB1AD access the variable in BBB1? Cool. I think that in order to answer this, I both want to get the MDN for CSS variables because I think that CSS might be a little bit more forgiving with scope. Yeah. Here's the MDN for variables. But the big reason, and this is a really, really good question, let's take a look at our HTML to see if we can't understand the answer to this question. So here we've got a parent div of BBB1, and then BBB1A is a child. So really what's gone in here is inside BBB1, we've said, I'm making a box. And really, as a general rule, our children will be able to access that. Hmm. Yeah, so scope something we could talk about a little bit more. Actually, if it's okay, can we chat about scope in the Discord just so we don't get too far out back? But this is a really good point. Scope matters. Scope can be important. Where do you define this variable and who gets to use it? Yeah, the scope is the CSS cascade. So if you're inheriting this knowledge, you should be able to do it, I think. Yeah, it looks like MDN might back up my very fuzzy knowledge. As a general rule, if you declare a variable and you're trying to use it someplace else and it doesn't work, move it a little bit up in sort of the hierarchy. Ephedrus, I have no idea what this means. A variable can also be applied to an RGB alpha channel. I adore you. You're going to have to teach me what an RGB alpha channel is. I'm friendly and useless. And Florian makes a really good point to say, ooh, what about a callback color or fallback color? I think we'll probably get there in a second. Yeah. So here we've got the example we talked about. Our boss, which is the tutorial here, has said, gray, no. Let's go ahead and change all of it at the same time. Oh, ooh, oof. That's a very aggressive light purple. But this shows us, oh gosh, yeah. Can the variable also be set in RGB instead of hex? Let's try that. RGB, I think it can. So 20, 255, 0. Oh, wait, RGB. Y'all are unnecessary. Woof, woof, woof. That's just right. Yes, it very much can. Sorry, saying alpha channel is technically correct. And I was just like, what? Let's go ahead and reset you to what our boss wants, which was AA 80FF, which was this lurid purple. So our first building looks pretty good. It's very, very purple. Let's make some more. Div. So we're inside. Are we inside? We're inside background buildings. We're still in our background. Let's go ahead and make. Oh, okay. So BB. Wait. Heck. Div and the class is equal to. I'm going to cheat because I'm very, very lazy. Creating 3 new div elements. So I'm going to cheat and copy and paste because who doesn't love to copy and paste? Here we've got BB2, which I think is going to be our second building. BB3, gently sure it's going to be our third. And BB4. And we can see some extra lines coming into the bottom. Oh, cool. But like not doing much still. So we just haven't put anything in them. Let's give all of our new buildings width and height properties. Ooh, somebody give me the code for this so I'm not going back and forth. BB2 width and height. Y'all are so patient with me being lazy as the day is long. 10%. And remember, this is 10% of the parent. Gee, you were after my own heart. You were like, Jess is going to be here for 1,000,000 years if we don't help her. She's. Wait. And you're right, I would be. Building 3 is 10 and 55, 10% and 55%. And then down here, we've got BB4, which is going to be our first building. And oh, God, weird, right? So we're seeing these, but we're seeing these sort of aligned column-wise. It's not ideal, is it? BB4 is, I bet we're going to change that around in just a second. I'm going to use Leanne's. Oh, Ephedrus points out that using RGB as the way we set our colors lets us set transparency as well, which, do you know what might be especially useful when we're talking about CSS art like this? Ooh, Floria's got a great question saying, can we use the calc function for width and height? I mean, not right now, but I think we can very generally, can't we? I think, yes, that's possible, but we're not going to do it right now. Oh, but why not? You want to say, well, because I'm lazy, and mostly because I'm lazy. But let's go ahead and check our code. Oh, even though that was a lot of copy and pasting, we've got our green stripes so we can hustle on. So I think we could use the calc function for width and height if we wanted to, but I very much don't want to. So right now, these buildings are stacked on top of each other. We got this. This is super chill. We're going to come into our parent element, which is this background buildings div we made. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to add Flexbox as a real mental model. So display flex. And by default, it aligns those in a row. So that's pretty chill. Then we're going to align our items in a flex end. Ooh, yeah. So this is all right. I want to flex these, put them at the end. We're going to justify our content. And I don't want to discourage you all because sometimes you ask a really good question where you're like, hey, can I do this? I'm like, yeah, I bet you can, but I'm not going to do it. And that's not me trying to discourage you at all. It's just me trying to get through as much of the basics as possible. Ooh, if you're back around, Ramon, if you're still here, we're going to do a Saturday session. Oh, step 20 does some magic. Let's talk about it as we go. Yeah. We're going to justify our content. So let's talk about what we think this is going to do before we do it. So here, our width and height of the background building is set to 100% of the parent. So it takes up the whole of the body element. We feel okay about that. That feels confident. Here on line 14, what we've done is said, I want to use Flexbox, please. And Flexbox lined these up in a row because the default is row. Align items flex end. What do we think this did? Ooh. It looks like align items. I'm going to give you the link for align items because I'm a meanie. And I'm going to ask you, hey, what do we think align item? What it practically did is move everything down to the bottom. What do we think the magic is that did this? So align items. Okay, so it aligns all of the children, and that's what we want. We want to be targeting all the children. And it's sort of wiggling these babies around, isn't it? So flex end, if you come way down to the syntax in this MDN, flex end is going to say, hey, pack these flex items from the end, squish these babies together based on what do we think this is going to do? Justify. I think I know what this is going to do. I think when I say justify the content, space evenly, you see me carefully not typing the last one yet. I think we're going to see these spaced out based on the amount of space that exists in the parent element. Yeah. Boom. Cool. We say we've got this much space we need for our elements. We've got this much space left over. Let's spread them out as evenly as we can. Yeah. If this is magic, but this is just weird CSS magic. We could just keep playing with it and check our code. Everything's fine. Oof. Our boss is an absolute fuss, isn't it? We went ahead and we made a beautiful gray building, and our boss came back to be like, "Mm-mm, no, no, make it purple." We made it purple, and now we've spaced it evenly, and our boss has come back and said, I don't like this. Let's squish them together by making some empty divs at the top of background building elements. Hang on, let's do this one at a time because I will. So, two empty div elements to the top of the background buildings element. Okay, so right here, one. Oh, oh, so even though there's really nothing in these divs, we're still seeing. Oh, I don't like that. I don't. Oh, because we haven't finished it yet. We're still seeing these sort of wiggle ours around. Two more at the bottom. So I think this should be the last thing before the background elements close. And I think what that's going to do, ooh, doesn't matter what I think this is going to do. Why is that not showing up very well? There we go. That's a bit better. What do you think it's going to look like when I add two divs at the end? We got a little bit more wiggle space here when I added two divs at the beginning. When I had two divs at the end, what do you think is going to happen? How's it going to visually change? And it's going to jump a bit because I'm going to paste them both in. Oh, it's got a little bit of a squish. And also one between BB3 and BB4. You're very right to point out. And because I'm lazy, I'm just going to copy and paste it. BB3 and BB4. And just a little bit of wiggle space in there. Oh, just a little bit of wiggle space in there. And check our code. Everything's fine. So we're using these imaginary divs to just sort of push. Cool. I mean, imaginary in that everything is imaginary, isn't it? And Carlos has got this so right to say, oh, so these are block elements. Remember, there's two types of elements in HTML. There are block elements that sort of start on a conceptual new line with a bit of space, like div, you're absolutely right. And there are inline elements that you could start one and you start another, and they'll happily sit on the same line if you don't set specific rules. Yeah. So even if they were inline elements, we could do this by changing their behavior. But here, it just works out of the box. So we're going to make a building color too. Where? Oh, so this we want to use these in our buildings. So I think we're going to want to set it in the parent. So building color 1. I'm going to set a new variable. We're going to set it to building color 2. And some of you who prefer maybe British English or Canadian, y'all are rightly like, oh, I don't quite like that we're using the Americanized spelling of color. And I think it is a bit unfair, isn't it? 66 CC 99. Oh, so we've got this sort of green color. That's very pretty. Then we're going to set it to the background color of BB2. Okay, so we're going to come to BB2. So the background color is going to be set to the variable inside these smooth braces of building color 2. That doesn't feel right, does it? Why? Oh, who said this a minute ago who was durably, beautifully correct? Let me find you so I can give you credit for being fantastic. Florian, oh God. And do you know what? Mervin, my brilliant colleague, is helping out today. So huge thank you to Mervin for finding this. Because Florian was like, you know what? I've actually done some of this before, and I think fallback colors exist. Yeah, fallback colors do exist. So here, we're going to create a fallback color. And a fallback color is a lot like alt text. I mean, in that if something doesn't go right, it's here to get our backs, right? Or it's like having a fallback font family. I think the fallback font family is probably a more direct comparison. Oh, I'm so sorry, my loves. So the way we set that is we use the variable and then our variable name, and then we set a fallback value. Okay. Our fallback value is going to be green for the background color of BB2. I say, okay, we've got this background color too. That has not worked. I said, well, you know what? If you can't get this variable for whatever reason, just paint that building green. Yeah. Florian, thank you so much for sort of looking into the future and saying, hey, are we going to use fallback values for variables in the same way we used fallback values for fonts? And heck yeah. I'm going to submit our code and go on to the next challenge. Ooh, and do you know what? When we talked about scope, is this variable accessible from where I'm using it? Okay. Yeah. So Maria's saying, hey, when I first tried adding building color 2 to the BBB2 div, that didn't work. Why do we need to gather them for the BBB1? Is that what's going on? So I think that it hasn't worked in this case because so background buildings, BBB1. So this is our first building. And we're trying to use that down here in BBB2. And I think the question, Maria, that you're asking is, what's going on here? This doesn't work. And let's take a minute and experiment, because I think this is coming back to the very, very good question that was it Sasha, did you ask a very good question about scope? Yeah. So Sasha a bit ago was saying, hey, let's talk about scope. Let's talk about scope, because right now we've got green as a fallback color. Why do we think that this turquoise color we asked for didn't work? And I think this turquoise color we asked for didn't work because it might be a scope issue. Let's talk about how our HTML is structured, and let's see whether or not it's a scope issue or whether or not it might be. So here we've got everything's in our body, the body's the parent, but then we've got a div of background buildings that contains all of our building divs. Okay, cool. And then our div class 1, this first building that contains the 1A, 1B units, where are you? That contains this purple color that's being used by its children, but it also contains this teal color that we've tried to use in the second building, BB2. BB2 isn't a child of BB1, so I'm wondering, I'm wondering if changing the scope might not work. If I come down here and if I declare this inside BBB2, so this is a scope problem. Sasha was like, let's talk about scope. And I think we're going to be talking about scope more and more, don't you? Let's make sure that went back where it goes. Yeah, let's put you back. Just because we're going to play with scope in a minute. Yeah, you all are asking really, really good questions. So Maria, the reason that doesn't work is scope. Its neighbor has this variable and it can't get it from its neighbor. It needs to be declared either in its own div or in its parent's div. Yeah. Oh, Carlos, you've got such a good way of saying this. Cascade, the ability to inherit really the understanding of these variable values. I think that's a fun way to say it. You know what? You can't get that from your siblings. That comes from your parents. You inherit this understanding from your parents. Carlos, you've said this so much more beautifully than I could. Leanna's saying, again, it's your sibling. You either need to hold. So if Jess wants to use a variable, I need to either declare it within myself. Ooh, that sounds very poetic. Or my mother, or my father, or my grandmother, or my grandfather needs to have it. If my buddy Ramon knows the value of this and he's like my peer, I can't use it. So this is going to happen a lot using variables, not just CSS, but if you do JavaScript or if you do, is this a thing in Python? This is going to happen all the time. Oh, yeah. And Maria's asking, but is BB1 not the parent of BB? Let's go check. Sorry, I sound super excited about a confusing thing, and I'm always super excited because, like, I am consistently confused, and I love when stuff is confusing. So, background buildings is our parent. Cool, cool, cool. These divs are the child of background one, but they don't contain anything. This div BBB1, okay, is the child of background buildings, and its children are these boxes that sit inside it. But then we see BBB1 end, and then BB2 start. So they're siblings, but BB1 isn't the parent of BB2 because BB2 isn't inside BB1. That is such a good question. Sorry that I'm absolutely delighted with confusing things, but I'm confused. Oh, let's do a building color 3. Where do you sit, building color 3? Oh, where am I putting you? Building color 3. Create a new variable below the other. Do we think we're going to see the same problem again? So I'm still inside BB1. I'm creating a new variable called building color 3. I'm going to set this to the value of, what's the value of? CC 6, CC 6 is what? 99. 99. Oh, that's this sort of mauve-y color. And then I'm going to set, ooh, we just talked about scope. So I want to see scope again. So here we're still inside BB1, right? We're still inside this first building. Yeah. And we're going to set building color 3 for this third building. So another one of its siblings. So I think this isn't going to work again. We're going to come down to BB3. Yeah. I'm going to set this to the variable dash background color 3. I don't think this is going to work at all. It hasn't. Okay, chill. But we're going to set a background value to pink. Oh. Oh gosh, I'm a goof. So we've said we're using this variable, but we haven't said what we're using it for. I actually need to say that this is for the background color, don't I? So this is pink instead of that backup variable. Leanne, look at you. You're way ahead of me. So this is whenever your scope doesn't work, move it up. Oh, my building color 3 should have a value of 66cc99. Did I not do that? Do we come all the way back up? Oh, CC6699. CC. Am I losing my mind? Maybe I am losing my mind. Yes, Septus makes the same point here, which I think is really useful, saying if the variable is in the body, that would work. Heck yeah, because that's conceptually sort of moving it up, isn't it? Why are you not working? The building color 3 should be a value of 6. But it is, right? Y'all are going to back me up here. When in doubt, we'll totally reload in case this is a browser issue. The browser issue is generally me being a little bit low-key rubbish, which is very rarely. Building color 3. Set that. CC6699. That should be a pink, shouldn't it? Oh, wait. Building color 3, CC6699. I'm going to come down to background color 3. Building 3. Background color. Set that to a variable. Building color 3. I set that to pink. Oh, heck. Syntax right then. Are you working this time? Building color 3, a variable of. Y'all, am I losing my mind? Building color 3. Right? Right? I'm just going to make sure I haven't misspelled anything. Although, if I've misspelled building color 3, I've definitely got different problems. What's wrong with you, babe? I'm going to restart this one more time. I'm just going to completely reload it and grumble darkly. Have I... What color is building color 2 supposed to... Oh, CC... Oh, gosh. Am I just wasting y'all's time? CC6699. Oof. I thought... Y'all, thank you so much. And this is the kind of thing that I absolutely get frustrated with. So this one used the fallback color as well. And we've cheated a little bit here and said, well, what's the problem? And the problem here is that we've declared these variables inside of the first building, not inside the parent. Oh, and who is it? Which we had 2 of you. And I'm so sorry to have wasted your time getting that wrong. So Septus is saying, you know what? I think this would work if we put this in the variable. Like if we declared declare these variables higher, sort of in the family tree, as it were, this would work. And Leanne's saying, well, you know what? When I do this, I put it sort of higher up in the family tree and it worked. Let's go ahead and move this higher up in the family tree. We're going to have the root selector. Oh, does anybody remember what the pseudo selector means? The root is a pseudo-class. I refuse to tell you what root means. I'm so mean. I lovingly and gently demand, if you don't mind, pretty please, could you tell me what this root pseudo-class means? And while you do that, I'm going to cut. Ooh, I'm going to take them all away. And you notice that now none of our colors work except for our fallback colors. Oh, yeah, Maria, it's just the tutorial being a little bit cruel. So now all of our colors work because we've put it inside the root pseudo class. That's chill. Everything's chill. And unfortunately, the way that our brains work is sometimes things being a little bit wrong and things not working and things seeming a little bit borked, very technical term, is how our brains go, oh, I hit that wall and had to wander around it. And now I understand the shape of what's going on here. Fabulous. So just like Leanne and just like Septive suggested, we've gone ahead and we've moved our variables up, both physically in the file, but also in the family tree. Ola Soymug, you're so patient. Ramon is so patient with me being me. Say, oh, this pseudo class root, does that mean the element even be above the HTML one? I think that, oh, you know what? I thought I knew, and now I'm not so sure. I think the root pseudo class, let's say, I think that means the HTML. Yeah, so it selects it's the equivalent to saying everything inside. Let's go ahead and grab the MDN for y'all. When I say the root pseudo class, what I mean is give me anything, set this for anything inside these HTML. Yeah, Leanne's got it. You're a gift. We are going to check our code. And now it says, y'all, now that you've moved this up so that it's globally available. Ooh, it's a global variable. Wait, Ramon, back me up. That's what y'all say in JavaScript, right? So we've worked out the bugs and the building's the right color. We can get rid. This is telling us we can get rid of our background, our fallback variables, but I don't want. It's telling me to, so I'll do it. But I mean, something bad could happen in the future. So here, maybe we were just using these these fallback ones as a way to troubleshoot. So say, okay, I know that if this variable is working right, it should be green, but I'm going to make the fallback color bright red so that if it's broken, I'll know something's broken. Yeah, and Carlos has got this as well to say, this root pseudo class, or pseudo element, refers to HTML, all of the HTML on your page. And again, if you want to, and if you have the money, donating to Free Code Camp is a legit nice thing to do. But if you don't have the money, don't you spend money you don't have. We're going to do just a couple more of these, and then I am going to monstrously abandon you. Isn't that? I'm sounding very, very exciting. And Leanne makes a really good point here. I say, you know what? We can get rid of the fallbacks now because we're able to access those. We've used these fallbacks to sort of troubleshoot. We've used them as a test. And we feel confident now. Right now, we know these work. We know that we're getting this from a parent and not trying to get it from our siblings, sort of fighting over a toy. And this is all chill. We can get rid of it, even though, getting rid of a safety net is always a bit distressing to me. So we're going to create another variable. I bet it is indeed called building color for it. And let's just do this one and one more. And then we'll switch to answering your questions because those of you who are doing the JavaScript bootcamp, and even those of you who aren't, today is a big, big day. So we're going to have the rest of this lesson as normal. We'll finish up maybe 27, 28, maybe 29 if it's really cool. We'll finish up the next couple ones of these. I'll answer your questions. And then later on today, Ramon is going to be teaching. Ramon, what are you all learning about in JavaScript today? But we actually have a bonus guest today. So usually we have speakers on Thursdays, and we do have speakers on Thursdays. So we're going to have Felina, who's a very fancy professor at a Dutch university, come and talk to us on Thursday about how we read code and really the skills behind that. Love it. But then Stuart is going to come talk to us this afternoon. And this sounds a bit strange because Stuart is a JavaScript developer. He's a big, fancy, proper one. And he's going to talk to us about using less JavaScript. Nice, huh? So I think his talk is like titled something like, "You don't really need all that JavaScript." I can't do his voice. Stuart is great. He's a very, very engaging teacher. And really what he's going to say, he doesn't dislike JavaScript, I don't think. Let's set our background color because we've been told to paint this last building. The background color we've just created. So we'd use a variable and our smooth braces, yeah, dash dash. And then we've got building color. Was it 4? And because we've defined that up in the root selector, we can access it. We're not getting it from our sibling. We've got this very, very nice light blue color. Let's look at this last one. Ooh, we're gonna wiggle. We're gonna wiggle. I'm so sorry. So we're just going to add a couple more divs. We're going to mess around super, super fast. And then while I'm doing it, if you have any questions at all, so it could be questions about CSS variables, it could be questions about webby stuff, or it could be sort of terrifying general questions about tech, go ahead and start plugging those in while I'm getting the last ones of these done. So I'm going to create a new div below the background element. Ooh, this is exciting because all of the divs have been a child of this background buildings class div. And now we are not talking about background buildings anymore. So I'm going to create a div here. And do go ahead and ask any questions you have. It's super, super chill. This class may be about foreground buildings. And because y'all have seen me type stuff wrong again and again, I'm going to copy and paste that. Super chill. So we want our foreground building container to sit directly on top of the background building. So we want these to, you know what, this makes sense. We want these to overlap, don't we? So for my class of foreground building, and I copy and pasted that because I'm terribly lazy, we want it to sit completely over the top of our existing art. Yeah. The width to 100% is the same size as the width of our background buildings container. I'm going to set the height to 100% as well. These are always going to overlap. And now I'm going to do something very exciting. I'm going to set the position to absolute. I'm saying, hey, I know you've got an idea of where this is supposed to sit, but I want this to not wiggle. I want to, oh, heck, refresh that. I want to set the top to 0. Yeah, I want to fix the top to the top. I want to pin it down. Check our code. We'll do one more, and if there's no question and answer, I will get to go drink lots and lots of coffee. 6 div elements. Okay, as a deeply lazy person, I can do this. We've got to nest them, so they're going to be children. They're going to sit in here. I say div class. I think I know what we're doing here. Div. Okay, so it's foreground building 1 to foreground building 6. So foreground building. Look at this extreme laziness. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Everything's fine. We can check our code, and we have 6 children. And because I am a terrible person, I'm going to let you do step 31 and on. Also, because we will be here for 45 minutes if you let me go, oh, wait, the first one is where, yeah, it'll take forever. And I imagine you all will be much quicker than I am. It looks like we don't have any questions today, which is super, super chill. If you have any questions, we're always in the forum and we're always in the Discord. So you can come and grab us there. Oh, let me go ahead and get that little tiny, where is, yeah. Oh, heck, sorry, we're both pushing it at the same time. So go ahead and head over to the forum if you haven't been before. And if you're stuck, oh, do we? Oh, how do we separate? So when you say, how do we separate the alpha channel as a variable? Do you mean you're curious about how we might use this in the wild? So I think we can just go ahead and use this in the same way that we would specify it before. So let's find what step had us. Where were we? Were we doing colors in here? Yeah. So let's try building color. We're in step. What step are we in? 25. Let's go to step 27. Yeah, okay. Let's go ahead and do this. So we're going to talk about, have we talked about alpha yet in the lessons? So let's go ahead and set this to RGB. Do we need to see RGBA? Just double check. Yeah. Let me go ahead and get this. I can't remember if we've already learned about transparency using RGB, but let me go ahead and drop that in. And this is going to be a little bit difficult because we're not going to be able to see it fantastically well because we're not on top of something. So remember that for the red, green, and blue, those are from 0 to 255. So 0 is none of that color, and 255 is the maximum of red or the maximum of green or the maximum of blue. And then the alpha is a number between 0 and 1. And you say, Jess, that's weird. And I'm like, right. Florian rightly points out that we can use alpha with hex colors as well. But the question we got was about RGBA. So let's do this one first. And you say, well, 0 to 1 doesn't feel like very much granularity, but we can use decimals or percentage here. So let's try. I don't want any red. I want all the green. Oh, and you know what? Give me all the blue as well. Will you give me a pretty teal? And then I want to set that to zero point 0.5. I need to go ahead and set this building color 3 to something. Let's go ahead and come on down and set. Huh. Why are you not working? Oh, it's the space. The space did me. So an alpha value can be between 0 and 1, and that's absolutely correct. It could also be a percentage. So 50% is, yeah, so that went light, not because we changed the tone, but because we made it more transparent. Or you'd say 1, ooh, is not see-through at all. 0, completely see-through. Oh, so it's weird. We're not changing the color, even though the color seems to be changing. We're making it more or less see-through. We're turning down the solidness of it instead of the color. Isn't that not cool and weird? I'm not sure if we've already looked at this in the lessons, but it is super weird. And Carlos is always just a gift answering these good questions. So, Florian, you're saying we want to count an issue, you need a filter to set the background. And does filter have a higher specificity? You know this is an MDN question, right? Um, does filter have? So the filter property does some weird stuff. You could blur or shift the color, and it's used to do nifty stuff. It's a very technical term. It's used to do nifty stuff to um, to backgrounds or to images. So here we've got some examples of what this looks like using the Firefox logo because MDN's made by Mozilla. We say, oh, I want to blur this. I want to bump up the contrast. I want to double the contrast. Oh, that's a lot of contrast. I want to turn it mostly gray. Ooh, I want to flip the colors. Love it. Love it. So is this more specific than? Is this more specific than background? I would think that this is something that you do to a background. So a filter should be, this should be a property you apply to your background image. Can you talk to me a little bit more, yeah, about what sort of the challenge might have been? Yeah. Here we go. So with a function, it might look like this. And here's how you would set it. So if I wanted to set a background color or a background image too, I could say filter and then the URL and the file ID. But yeah, I'm not quite sure what the problem is. Okay, so we've got two different questions about step 33. Yeah. Ooh, we've got two different questions about step 33. But no, gosh, no, never be sorry about asking questions. We've got two different questions about step 33, but we've also got Leanne saying, I think that if you're stuck on step 33, you might want to make sure that the foreground buildings have the class selector. Yeah. Give that a shot and see if it works. If you're, I'm so sorry that I'm going to be mean and let you struggle a little bit just because it's a really good way to learn. If you're still stuck, come on and drop your code into the Discord or into the forum and we'll get you unstuck there, I promise. I just think Leanne's suggestion, oh, make sure that you're applying the class selector for foreground buildings. I mean, when is the last time Leanne hasn't been right? I think that's likely to unstick both of you. Come back and fuss at me if that doesn't. We'll get it sorted. You all are very, very patient with me being absolutely rubbish at typing. How about I let you go to have a very, very easy day? And don't forget, if you're in the JavaScript bootcamp, don't worry if you're not. We'll keep doing bootcamps. It's chill. And doing both at the same time is too much, really. If you're in the JavaScript bootcamp, Ramon will be on later today. It's going to be so laid back. He's so nice. And then after that later today, we're going to have that guest slot by Stewart, who, and I like this because I find it really reassuring, even if you're not taking the JavaScript bootcamp yet, to say, hey, you need less JavaScript than you think you might. Yeah. I'm going to let y'all go. Have the easiest possible day. Oh, homework, homework, homework. Wait. Homework. Please try and finish this whole big, frustrating, blobby session. Oof. But also, please have the chillest day possible. And if it's toward the end of the day, you are obligated to have the chillest day possible tomorrow. I'll let y'all go for real now that we've talked homework. So finish this whole section. Ooh, monstrous. But then be as gentle to yourselves as you can. Bye, everybody.